My name is Ed Sloan, originally from South Boston, and I joined the service in 1961.
Okay, so how old were you when you were in the service?
I was 17.
17. Were you enlisted in the service?
I enlisted.
You enlisted?
Yep.
Okay. Any specific reason why you joined the service?
It's what the kids did at the time. Everybody on my block, they all joined the service, and come my time, it was my time. I went and joined.
What was your life like when you joined the service? Were you working? Were you in school?
Yeah, I worked. I was in high school, and I had a part-time job after school, and come from a poor family, and I had to work full-time, so I ended up quitting high school and working full-time, and of course the pay wasn't much back then. I was making like 25, 30 bucks a week was my pay. So I decided, well, I might as well try to do something, so I joined the service.
What branch of the service?
I went in the Army.
Okay. How did your parents or your family feel about you joining?
Back then, people were pretty patriotic. It wasn't like, oh, you don't want to do that, or whatever. My father was in the Army, so he understood. And unfortunately, my mother was raising 4 kids at the time, and of course she didn't want to see me go because I was kind of bringing some money into the household, but I convinced her it was the best thing. Less mouth to feed,
Okay, where did you follow out your basic training?
I did my basic training at Fort Dix, New Jersey.
Okay. Well, I doubt coming from this neighborhood, but was there any form of culture shock of meeting new people in your basic training?
Not when I went to New Jersey, because a lot of the people there were from the same area. But after basic training and I went on to advanced training, I went further south. And when I got to North Carolina, it was, whoa.
Yeah. Totally understand that. Do you have any interesting stories that kind of come to mind when you think about your basic training?
To tell you the truth, I'm lucky I can remember I was in Delta Company from basic training. Other than that, it's what they called it, basic training. You had to learn the basics, you had to learn how to march, you had to learn how to salute, you had to learn how to shoot a rifle, and map reading, tactics, so nothing really, out of the ordinary, or, unless you were a goof up and ended up in trouble and stuff, you know what I mean?
Okay. What was your military occupation?
I was in the infantry.
You were in the infantry?
Infantryman.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so let's get to the actual war. During the Vietnam War, when you were actually shipped out, did you know the reasons? Why the war was taking place? Did you know what you were fighting for?
It didn't matter to me what the reason was.
Did you have any idea of what the reason was, or you were
just... It didn't matter. I took an oath to defend my country.
Okay.
I was ordered to go. I went.
Okay. Were you happy? I mean, were you were proud to be serving your country?
I was very proud. Very
Okay.
proud. And was I happy to go? Can't say I was happy. I was married. I had a couple of kids, but it was my duty. That's what they paid me for.
Now, do you believe that the United States government, their role in Vietnam, do you believe that they were correct in?
When you look at it from the standpoint of a soldier, there are certain things that you don't necessarily want to take into account. Not like when you're a civilian, and there's a difference.
Yeah.
Like I say, we took an oath to do what we had to do. And when we're ordered to do something, God damn it, that's what you got to go do. That's what you're being paid to do. It's just like a bus driver in the city. He's paid to drive a bus. You get your paycheck, goddamn it, get in the bus and drive the thing.
So
You know, it's the same thing. And to look at the actual reasons why, not that it didn't matter, but it was a situation where your country needed you there. They said they needed you, whether they lied or whatever reasons they had was immaterial. They said they needed you there. They need you there for a year. You got to go there and do this job with this unit, and that's what you went and did.
So even though that you were under oath and you felt like it was your job to be there, you still felt like you were doing the right thing by being there?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Oh yes.
So when you made it to Vietnam, what did you think of the culture and the people there?
Well, the funny thing is, when I went over there, I ended up in the 1st Air Cap Division. And the culture itself initially didn't play much of a part because you weren't associated with the culture. You were at a base camp with all military people. And that's what you dealt with. The people you were based with, the people you ate with, slept with, and camped with. So the culture itself, it really didn't play a part at that point, you know, in my career.
When were you actually introduced or mixed in with the culture? I mean,
I can't say. I did a few tours over there. I didn't do just one.
okay.
My first tour, I can't say that I was really introduced to the culture because my first tour I was in the strictly infantry combat unit, and our introduction to the culture was the enemy.
Yeah.
So there is no saying, did you like the culture? No, I tried to kill the son of a bitch because he was trying to kill me.
Yeah.
You know. After my first tour, I come back to the United States, and I went to Green Beret training, Special Forces. And when I finished that, 2 years later, I was then sent back over to Vietnam. And in the role of the Special Forces, you worked with the indigenous people, and you worked with the culture. And it gave me an entirely different outlook on the whole country from my first tour over there. And I got to meet the people, I got to work with them, and I got to train their soldiers, you know, and show them how to shoot rifles and do tactics and stuff like that. So that's when my involvement with the culture came about. The average soldier over there, unless he gets off for a night or something and goes out drinking or something, you know, he has nothing to do with the culture. It's all kill or be killed. You know, that's it. But unless you're in a special operations unit where you have to work with the indigenous people and their forces and their government, you have no involvement with the culture.
All right. What was it like to actually be out in the field, like say on a seek and destroy or like a sweep and clear mission?
It was kind of interesting. It was, you know, is this going to be my last one, or am I going to make it back to make another one? You know, it was just survival.
So I'm guessing you were fairly scared at the beginning. I would imagine that I would be.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Did that fear ever?
You were scared, but you couldn't let it show.
Did the fear ever go away after a while, or was it?
No,
No?
you're scared all the time.
Yeah.
You're scared all the time. I was in a paratrooper unit. We jumped out of airplanes. You go up there in the airplane, you jump. I don't care how many times you jump. You go up for your next jump, you're freaking scared. You know? Is my shoe going to open? Am I going to make it down this time? Am I going to be able to come up here and do this again? You got a lot of things going through your head. You know? It's, anybody that says it ain't scared is a goddamn idiot. I'll tell you that right now.
Are there any acts of like significant heroism that you were involved in or you witnessed that stick in your memory?
There's so many times we got in firefights, and you know, you don't. It's something you're not looking for. It's something that you're there, you're fighting with the enemy, and you're looking out for your buddies, and that's all you care about. That's all you care about. If something heroic happens, it's not that someone said, I'm going to be a hero today. That don't happen. It's the adrenaline, it's the rush, and it just happens. It just happens. And then when it's all over, when all is said and done, you sit down,
Would you like to take a break?
you sit down and try to come to terms with it. And you try to rationalize everything that happened. And that's why we have a band of brothers. We stick together and we help each other through this shit, you know. And it works out. It works out for the most part. It's like I say, it's nothing anybody plans. It just happens.
Would you say it was more instinct, or was it based on training?
It's based on the quality of the training you get from the individuals who have been there before and know how to train you and know what to train you for, and repetition. Repetition is the mother of all training. The more you do something, the better you're going to be at it. Okay? And when you get in those situations, yes, I'll have to say, it's instinct. It's built in you. You're just going to do it. And that's why I was always proud to be in, not just the Army, but voluntary units like the airborne and the paratroopers, because everybody that was there wanted to be there. And they did their best and their ultimate to pursue the goals.
What did you think of the Viet Cong, or the North Vietnamese Army?
They were, man, them people were, I mean, they were like the Japanese in World War II. They were just psyched. Yeah. They were, I mean, and I know they were pumped up on drugs or whatever the hell it was, but they were just, they'd fight to the death. I mean, there was virtually no stopping them. It was incredible. I mean, the normal guy fighting in combat, go through what they went through, would have said, "The hell with you! I'm getting the hell out of here." You know, they were fighting with limited weapons. You know, just what they got from the Russians, and they hung right in there. They just wouldn't stop fighting. They were brainwashed.
Did you ever have a feeling that you guys were winning, or that the war could be won?
You know, in the beginning, you go into the skirmishes, you fight them off, you make them withdraw, and you say, "All right, we're on the road." And you go in there, and there's that hill there. Nui Ba Din, we got to take that hill. Okay, Colonel. Okay, Sergeant, we're going to take that frickin' hill. You go take the hill, you run them off the hill, you get them the hell out of there. Now you own the hill, but you don't own it. All right, guys, we're moving out. Where are we going? Well, we got another place in Vietnam we got to go to. So now you come off of the hill, and they come right back to the hill.
Yeah.
What in the hell did we just lose all these lives for, taking that hill, if we're not going to occupy it and keep it? It's one of the, I'm just a dumb shit. I was a sergeant in the Army, but to me, if you're going to fight a war, if you take a piece of territory, you own it, you keep it. You don't put it in a situation where the enemy can come back in and take it over again. Because all you're doing is going back and forth, back and forth.
It's kind of like a stalemate situation.
That's all it is. And every time you go back, every time you go forth, you're losing lives. You take it initially, you lost X amount of lives. It's unfortunate, but it's acceptable. But you keep it. You don't make those lives meaningless. And it goes back to the days of the Roman Empire and all those other empires. When they went on crusades and took countries, they owned them. They didn't give them back. You lost it. That's it. And it's the same shit that's going on today in Iraq and Iran and Afghanistan. Our troops are going in, they're taking the city, and then they're pulled out.
How is that for...
What good does it do?
How is that for your morale after witnessing that?
It kind of works on you. Yeah. It works on you. But still, you have to realize that you only have X amount of troops, and you have X amount of missions. The missions have to be accomplished. If you have to move troops from here to do it, you got to do it. You have to look at the overall picture, you know. And the overall picture was not to take a terrain and keep it. We didn't have enough troops to provide an occupational force. When you go in there to hold the land, we didn't have that many troops.
All right, so back in, you said you kind of started to mix in with the South Vietnamese culture on your second tour. Did you feel, were they friendly? Did you feel like you could trust them?
Yes, the ones that we worked with and the ones that we were training, they were dedicated to their cause, you know, and they didn't want these communists and Viet Cong in there. They didn't want to be dictated to. They wanted to live a free life. And you know, I felt that's why we were there, to help them, you know, to accomplish this. And they seemed sincere, you know. But then when you look at above them, the structure and the political nature of things, you know, who's putting this in their pocket? Who's doing what here? And what's it costing these poor people? You know, these poor people are paying for them to be up here and have all their riches and palaces or whatever, you know. But it's no different in our country.
Yeah.
You know, our soldiers are run by politicians. And these politicians, they make all kinds of money. They got all kinds of budgets. They got the best retirement plan in the world, you know. I mean, but that's the system. That's the way it's set up. And if anybody can come up with a better system, you know, then they're welcome to do it. It's worked for us for hundreds of years. And that's just the way it is. If you got the money, you can run for office, you can be a politician. If you don't have the money, you go into service and be a soldier. You know? Everybody got to do what they got to do. Everybody has a place in life. And that includes all Americans, all Vietnamese, all Japanese, all Russians, all everybody. Everybody got a place in life. And it's never going to change. If you took all the money in the United States and divided it equally amongst all the people in the United States, within 10 years, the people who have the money now would have it again, and the people who didn't have it would be right back where they were.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
Did you receive any injuries?
Any what?
Any injuries?
No, I was fortunate in that way.
Did you have any close friends?
I have a few friends that have lost their lives and have been injured. And,
were you present when that took place?
no, when I say friends, I mean people I knew back home that went over there too,
Okay.
but we're in different units. When I say friends, I hate to think that the guy beside me is my friend. You know, he's my brother.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it's happened to my brothers and my friends, you know. But you can't put yourself in a position where you're going to be friends with everybody.
Yeah.
It just ain't going to work.
Did it ever get easier? Just combat the lifestyle?
Never gets easy.
No.
No.
I wouldn't imagine.
It's
so.
if the most you can hope for is that it doesn't get harder, it at least remains consistent. You know, that's the most you can hope for. You can never see it get easier.
Yeah.
I mean, every day is another day of survival. You know.
Were you aware of what was going on back at home, like say, like they call them the hippies, with like the media, the controversies,
The demonstrations. All the, yes, I was.
How did you feel about that?
I didn't like it.
You didn't like it?
I didn't like it at all.
Was that the general consensus of soldiers fighting?
When I came home from, it was a general consensus among my fellow soldiers. When I came home, we flew into California. We were met by the flower children and the, you know, the yippies and all that, and they were spitting at us and everything else, and it wasn't fun. It was almost as bad being home as it was being in Vietnam. It was something that I couldn't conceive. I never saw that before. You know, you never saw that in news reels or movies from World War I or World War II. You know, Vietnam was, man, that was totally different. And when I got back to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, to my unit, then I ended up on riot control. And we were going to the cities in the United States breaking up riots and shit over the Vietnam War. You know, I mean, that just...
That make you feel like betrayed or unappreciated?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. But when you have a chance to sit down and rationalize it, you can't say you were betrayed. Because the people that were doing the demonstrating didn't know what they were doing. They had no idea what a soldier does. They have no idea why a soldier does what he does. They only knew they were getting college deferments to go to college and avoid the draft.
So you feel like they really had no right to speak on the subject?
I do. I really do. If the draft was always available and they were subject to the draft, by all means, say your piece.
So do you feel like most of these college students, if they would have been enlisted, their views would have been severely altered if they would have been drafted, or if they...
I think anybody's views would have been severely altered had they gone in the service and gone through not even gone through combat, just gone through military training and lived in a military environment, I think their views would have been altered. And I mean, it's like, how could I relate? I've never been a physician. I don't know what it's like to be a physician. I don't know what it's like to operate on someone, you know. But it'd be like me going into a hospital and voicing my opinion on how this physician is an idiot. He don't know what he's doing. You know, I don't know what training the guy's had. I don't know what schools he's been through. Might be the best physician in the world for all I know. I just don't have the right to do that.
It's kind of like the saying, you can't really say what you would do in a situation unless you've already been in that situation.
Right. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Exactly. All right, so, I mean, to put this all in like one big picture, do you feel like the Vietnam War in general was a mistake? Do you think that we, you know, maybe had good intentions and it wasn't carried out correctly, or we should have never been there in the first place?
I think, in perspective, I think the Vietnam War was very similar to the Korean War. Our goals and our intentions when we went in there, they were just, they were right, and we had a purpose, we had a mission. Somehow along the lines, it got too political. Instead of letting the generals on the ground and the soldiers on the ground run the war, politicians got involved. If the politicians had left MacArthur alone in Korea, we wouldn't be dealing with North Korea today. There would be no North Korea. And if the politicians left the generals alone in Vietnam, we wouldn't have the problems over here we got today. You go to war, you fight a war to win the war. And if you got generals, you got sergeants, you got soldiers, they're the professionals. They're the ones that were trained to handle that part of our country's business. Let them do their friggin' job and leave them alone.
Do you have any regrets?
No.
No.
I did 21 years in the Army.
Proud of it?
And I wouldn't give up a day. I wouldn't give up a day.
Did you know about or have any involvement in the My Lai situation?
No.
No?
No.
Did you hear about it when it was going on?
I heard about it, and actually, I can't remember what year that was.
Trying to remember myself.
I was there for the whole year of '66. I came back, and I was in the States '67, '68, and I went back to Vietnam in '69. I think My Lai was in between those tours.
It was '69, I think.
It may have been late '69, probably at the end of my tour. And of course, the first news you get of it, the first everything you get is not what the truth is to begin with. And you deal with that. And of course, being a soldier, I said, well, you know, they were ordered to take the place. You know, collateral damage is going to happen. And That's the way I looked at it. It was collateral damage. But then, when other stuff started coming out and the facts started coming out, I changed my opinion on that. And if in fact that unit had gone in and secured that city or that province or town, whatever it was, Hamlet, if they had already in fact captured it and they had prisoners, and this happened after that, no excuse for that.
So do you believe Lieutenant Calley was guilty?
I think they screwed up.
Yeah.
I think they screwed up. No way in hell would I want the enemy to capture my base camp, take my men prisoner, and after they're prisoners, stick them in the hole and just shoot them. I would not want that to happen. And in the same token, how can I want that to happen to the enemy?
Yeah.
When they're prisoners, they're prisoners. They're no longer combatants. You know, you just don't do that. That's murder. To me, it's murder. On the battlefield, face to face, that's survival. And judging from what they did, that's murder.
Are you aware of his sentence, how he was sentenced?
I was at the time, but it's kind of lost memory with me now because
I believe he was supposed to get life in prison, and it was dropped to 20 years. And then he was pardoned, ended up doing 3 years in kind of a halfway home. And it actually was supposed to be 10 years, and then after 3 years, he was paroled. Do you believe that that's fair?
What's fair? What's fair?
The,
You go out here today, go up to Ash 1 station, pull a gun out, shoot somebody, kill them. You go to Rosendale, Forest Hill Station, pull a gun out, shoot somebody, kill them. You go before one judge, you go before another. You get 10 years, you get life. Is that fair?
it's a judgment call.
That's the way it is. That's the way it is, and you see it every day.
Yeah.
You see it every day. Drunk drivers. Some guy goes out here, he gets caught for the second, third time, he ends up doing 10 years in jail. And then the next day, you're looking at a guy in court, it's his 15th frickin' charge.
Yeah.
What the hell's he still doing going to court?
Yeah.
There's no justice. What's fair? What's not fair? You know, when the judge got up in the morning, did he have his cup of coffee, kiss his wife, go to the court in a happy mood? I think he get up in the morning, fall out of bed, the wife yelling at him, goes to court. You know, the first son of a bitch comes in here, I'm going to nail him.
I gotcha.
Human nature.
Yeah. All right. I guess a common stereotype that war veterans have issues with getting their lives back together when they're done touring or when they're done serving their time in the military. What are your feelings on that? Do you think some veterans maybe just use it as an excuse, or do you think it's?
I've seen a lot of that.
Yeah.
I have seen that. And I did my job. I did my tours. I come back. I made the best of what I had. You know, went to work, raised my family, did what I had to do. Maybe I was lucky. Maybe I was fortunate. I know other people are not equipped to deal with it as well as I was. They're going to have problems, you know, and that's understandable. And of course, I'm speaking from when we went to combat. We were all active Army. Okay. Okay, it wasn't reserves, National Guard. It was all active Army. A few reserves were called up to support us, stuff. But in today's environment, it's all National Guard and it's all reserves. It's all guys like you who are either going to school or working a full-time job. You go to training on the weekends. Now, boom, your unit's called. You're on active duty. You're not making that $600 a week you were making in that job anymore. You're not sitting in that classroom getting that education anymore. You know, now you're on active duty. And you're going away on a tour. So now, you got a family and bills to pay. You're not making as much money here. You can't cover that shit. What happens? Works on your frickin' head. Yeah. Right? You can't concentrate on what you're supposed to be doing. Right? And it affects these guys an awful lot today. Yeah. When I was in the Army, I got the same pay every month. I wasn't working another job. I wasn't going, well, I went to night school, but, you know, that was something, no big deal. So if I go to combat, I'm still making the same money. I still got the same bills. I can cover them, I can handle them. These kids today, they can't do that. It just didn't work. Yeah. You know, and then they come back, and I know by law they're supposed to get their job back, you know, but the shit in reality, yeah, it doesn't really work, you know, and then they're faced with more problems. A lot of these kids have lost their homes, cars, you know, shit they've had, and they're not being compensated for it. So what do you do?
That's the question, isn't it?
It's something that the politicians and government got to sit down and take a very serious look at. You know, a very serious look. If you want these kids to defend your country, then goddamn it, you've got to compensate them right. You've got to take care of them. You know?
One last question for you. If you had say, or based on your beliefs during the time, and you believe that the Vietnam War could have been won, how do you think that? What do you think, like sort of tactics, or how do you think that the Vietnam War could have been won?
How do I think it could have been won? It could have been won by leaving the military alone. Give us what we want. A general calls back to the States and says, hey, I need 15,000 more troops. I need $1 billion more worth of equipment. You want to win the war? Get me that stuff. Nobody wanted to win that war. Nobody wanted to win that war.
I want to go back.
The only people that wanted to win that war were the kids fighting it. Nobody back here cared. Nobody gave a shit.
So why do you think we are involved in the first place?
Initially, because we were supposed to go there and keep communism out. And the premise and the concept was good. And it would have worked if they left us alone. If they left us alone and let us do our job. I was in special ops units. We go on a lot of classified missions. Nobody will ever know about. They left us alone. They let us do our job. The job got done. Until some asshole found out about something, and then, oh, these people did this. Now it's all over the frickin' news. Now you got to cut back on your special ops. You can't get shit done anymore. You know? It's a fact of life. If you got to go into a country and assassinate someone, you got to do it.
Can't get halfway there and
then
be pulled out.
No, you can't have some reporter find out and say, oh, they're going to go in there and kill this guy. Oh, that shit ain't right. Screw you. It's not your decision. Yeah. You know? There's too much shit involved. Yeah. Too much shit. Either go in and do the friggin' thing, or you get the fuck out.
I want to go back and touch on the question before this, and I think it deals with the last two questions, really. How do you feel about instituting a mandatory military service for all American citizens? Do you think that would help perhaps regenerate some of the veterans? Do you think that would help them assimilate back into society? Because everybody has to go through it. It's more of an accepted part of your development. And do you think that we would accept, also dealing with the last question, do you think that we would be able to accept giving the military the power to do what they need to do better? How do you think that all of this would work out?
You're smarter than you look. That's an excellent question. And I'll tell you right now, my answer is every male in this country should be eligible for a draft. There should be a draft. It makes people more aware of, yeah, I got my freedom, but somebody had to pay for it. Might be my turn next. I better pay attention to what's going on. When we had the draft before, everybody knew when their term was up, it was up. Now you don't have the draft, we're depending on a volunteer army. When it first started, it was a good idea. But who goes in the volunteer army? Poor kids that ain't got nothing else. Who's defending the country? Poor kids who had nothing else. Huh? Where's all these rich kids? Where's all these congressmen's sons? You know? Sitting in college, sitting on the Riviera, or, you know, whatever. That's bullshit. They were Americans too. They have a price to pay.
Do you think we could
Reinitiate the draft. Every young man 18 years or older is eligible. And when your number comes up, it comes up. And they also, I think it would reinstill patriotism in the country. 9/11 did that, but where is it now? Short-lived, short-remembered. Yeah. It'll take another 9/11 to get the people back to where they were 6 years ago. Right now, everybody, 24% approval vote for Bush. You know, we want nothing to do with the war. 5 years ago, they were, our soldiers, our people, you know. I mean, this country forgets so quick. It's unbelievable. Reinstate the draft. Make everybody pay the price. Not just the people who have nothing else that they can do with their lives. And yes, you're right, because then when these young kids get drafted and they serve their tour, they may be fortunate enough to go in when there's no wars. They go in, they do their 2 years, go through training, do their 2 years, and they're out. They're free and clear. On the other hand, someone may get drafted, and while they're in, something happens. But at least everybody was there. Everybody was paying the price. And it would make veterans more appreciative of the younger generation today.
Any more questions?
I don't know, it's kind of hard for us, I think, to, know what it was like during wartime. So, do you think that any, movies or anything that are out or have come out are accurately portray what it was actually like?
You know, that's another good question, because I base a lot of stuff on how people write movies, and it's so much more interesting that I've been there, seen it, and done it, because you can point out the realities, the unrealities, you know. And one of the better movies I saw come out of Vietnam was We Were Soldiers. It was an excellent movie, and it was well done, very well done. The heck was the other one? Apocalypse Now. You ever see that? Total garbage, total trash. Platoon. Garbage, trash. The way they portrayed soldiers in that, 9 out of 10 soldiers had to be high on drugs all the time. And that's bullshit. I never saw that, you know? I mean, I've seen guys get hooked. I've seen guys, you know, go through it. Not 9 out of 10. The movie Platoon, they're all sitting in the hut smoking pot and cocaine and everything. It just didn't happen, you know? But We Were Soldiers was an excellent movie. And there's another one out. I think it was called Pork Chop Hill.
Hamburger
Hamburger
Hill?
Hill?
Hamburger Hill, the 101st Airborne Division. That was an excellent movie, too. That was a good portrayal.
Movie.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
That's it.
Thank you.